Hi, welcome to WTV's first show of the season. I'm Andreas Porras.
And I'm Kristen Brown. Over the past 2 months, our news team has been keeping busy bringing you new content on our website, waterfronttv.org.
We've got a new set, new faces, and new ways to connect with you.
That's right. You can find us on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at WTV Media.
We listen to the topics you're talking about so we can tell the stories you want to hear.
So let's get into it. Here's John Wimberly with this week's news.
Thanks, Kristen and Andreas. Residents in Halifax's District 6 are without a city councillor. That's because Councillor Darren Fisher is in Ottawa as a new MP in the Trudeau government. It means that there will have to be a by-election to fill Fisher's empty city council seat, and that comes with a cost. The last by-election in HRM was in 2009 in the same riding and cost $85,000. But with redistricting adding 58% more voters, this time the city is budgeting $170,000. One of the other factors inflating the price tag is postage.
Of course, we contact all of the electors via mail, and it's a 57% increase in postage from 2009 to 2015.
City staff say that the by-election will include internet and telephone voting and will take place early in 2016. Until then, staff say residents in the area can contact the Councillor's Support Office if they have concerns that they would usually take to their representative. Earlier this month, a retired police investigator called for more resources to be put into solving cold case homicides in Halifax. Now, the daughter of a murder victim is speaking out about her frustrations with the cold case unit.
I think I said, "Is he okay?" And then she said no. Yeah.
It's a conversation Ashley Walsh will never forget. Her grandmother called to tell her that her father, Timothy Kelly, had been murdered.
He was shot 3 times. Like once in the side of the head and twice in the chest.
The shooting happened in December of 2009. Kelly was found lying on the ground in front of his home in West End, Halifax. His murder remains unsolved. Now it's called a cold case. He was 44 years old.
The Halifax Regional Police Cold Case Unit was established 15 years ago. There are currently 59 cold case homicide files, including Kelly's. Not one has been solved.
Walsh says she doesn't feel enough is being done, and she has questions about how the cold case unit operates.
Do they work every day? Like, what is it that they're doing? Who's paying for this? Who's funding it? Like, I don't understand how there can be not one solved crime in 15 years.
A spokesperson for the Halifax Regional Police says officers are working hard on these cases and that resources are not an issue.
The Chief of Police has mandated that this be a priority for last year as well as this year. We do feel like we have adequate resources in place.
Earlier this year, police added Timothy Kelly's case to a list where tips lead to rewards, up to $150,000. Walsh is hopeful that might lead to a break in the case and closure for her and her family.
You kind of lose hope, but you always in your heart, you always want to hope that you'll get the answers that you're looking for.
Kristen Brown, WTV News, Halifax.
It wasn't just trick-or-treaters and party-goers in costume last Saturday. Plainclothes police officers were deployed for Halloween, along with other additional law enforcement, out of concerns for public safety. HRPD say that along with their usual presence, they deployed more community response officers, plainclothes officers, members from their traffic unit, and increased patrols in certain communities.
We just see more of an increase of vandalism, public mischief, and we're hoping that that the more officers in place will deter any type of criminal activity.
It's no surprise that Halloween brings a spike in crime, but this year it also fell on a Saturday, which had the police increasing their usual preparation even further. Police say assaults and other crime did increase on Halloween night, but they were adequately staffed and received positive feedback from the public. A well-known heritage building in Halifax's downtown could soon be demolished, and that has some in the community speaking out. A notice recently appeared on Barrington's Renner Carney House saying that a local condo developer has applied to demolish the unique 1892 building. Pictures of the notice were shared online, stirring opposition, including from past and current tenants who expressed a deep appreciation for the building.
Even on the sign there that says it's going to be demolished, there's a little thing that's written that says, "Are you crazy? Like, why are you taking this down?"
Former residents say the building has at times been used as a hospital and a morgue following the Halifax explosion. It's now divided into apartments, and this current tenant says it's also appreciated by visitors.
Every day when I come out, when the tourists are here on the cruise ships, I come out and there's people taking pictures, and I'm probably in about 1,000 pictures now.
City officials say a decision should come within the next few months, but the demolition is far from certain. University students on the Halifax Peninsula now have better access to food bank services thanks to a new initiative. Student unions at St. Mary's, Dalhousie, and NASCAD have opened their food banks to students from any of those institutions. Organizers hope that this will make grocery transportation easier for students who they say are facing increasing challenges.
It's because education's too expensive, rent is too high, wages are too low. Students are being squeezed on every front, and the result is that students have to choose between paying for school and paying for food.
Hutton says 20% more students are using the Dal Food Bank over this time last year, and that single parents and international students make up most of their clients. The Dal Student Union says they expect food bank use to continue to increase as new tuition market adjustments come into effect this year. That's the news. Back to you, Kristen and Andreas.
Thanks, John. We have to take a quick break.
When we come back, WTV's Christian Roach tells us about a poet who chronicled his life through pictures.
And here it is, the greatest advance in television since color television itself.
Sometimes you have to climb to great heights to reach big goals.
And over the weekend, Haligonians participated in a virtual Everest in support of arthritis. Alicia Shivakova is standing by with the story. Alicia?
Living with a disease is easier when you know that others are aware of your pain and struggle and will climb a mountain for you. Virtual Everest is a fun challenge where people with arthritis and those who support them climb Citadel Hill together 80 times.
It's going to hurt me today to get up and down this hill, but I'm doing it because it's important to bring awareness to it.
Diane Blanchard has been living with arthritis for more than a decade. Sometimes it hurts her even to walk, but today she's determined to run.
We don't tell people this, we suffer with this. Every day it's a struggle. I get up, I have a hard time even getting out of bed in the morning.
1 in 4 Nova Scotians is affected by arthritis. This event began in 2013 to support arthritis research and advocacy. Money raised also helps to run programs and services for people affected by the disease.
It takes an awful lot of effort to raise those funds in order to maintain those programs. So, things like this are great initiatives to help us do that.
Some participants got creative about the challenge.
In order to get people to sponsor me, I promised that if I reached certain fundraising levels, I would run wearing a tutu and angel wings. And I had some very generous friends and family who donated for a very great cause, and so I'm here today dressed up.
The past 2 events had more than 100 participants and hundreds of others donating and fundraising.
It just makes me feel really good that they care that much to do this.
This year, Virtual Everest raised $17,000. Next year, organizers are hoping to bring the challenge to other cities across the country. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Alicia. It's Holocaust Education Week, and people came out to the Halifax Central Library to hear a compelling presentation by a Holocaust survivor. WTV's Romney Tarasco was there.
Because what happened to us did not happen in a vacuum. It happened in the midst of the 20th century.
Nate Leipziger is a Holocaust survivor. He survived Auschwitz-Birkenau as well as Dachau. He's been speaking about his experience for over 50 years.
Our young people have to know what human beings are capable of. If we knew what people could be capable of, maybe we would have reacted differently.
In the 1940s, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party committed a genocide. 11 million people were murdered, 6 million simply because they were Jewish. Leipziger says he remembers feeling abandoned by the world and hopes that presentations like his can stop history from repeating itself.
I hope that we reach some, and we hope that their life will change, that they will, instead of being a bystander, will be an upstander, and not wring their hands and to fold them and wring them.
Holocaust survivor testimony is becoming quite rare due to the age of Holocaust survivors, so it was very special to have Nate come to Halifax and speak, and I was very pleased to see so many people turning out to hear him.
There will be events throughout the week in both English and French to remember the Holocaust, including films, book signings, and musical performances.
We owe it to the people who were murdered, that we remember them, not how they were, not only how they were murdered, but who they were.
Copies of his memoir were available for free to those in attendance. Leipziger is scheduled to speak next in his home city of Toronto this Saturday. Romney Tarasco, WTV News, Halifax.
It's a powerful story. Next is a special feature we call Your City, Your Stories. WTV's Ellen Coles introduces us to a coach who's been at the rink for 20 years.
Coach, do it for the right reasons.
Graham Burgess has been a local volunteer hockey coach for over 20 years. He started playing hockey at age 5, and his father helped form a committee that built the Centennial Arena in Fairview in 1967. Burgess says because of the arena, more minor hockey leagues were created, allowing more kids to play.
It's a real community arena. That's the way I look at the Centennial. But it's got a special place in my heart, as I'm sure a lot of youth from the 60s and 70s has a special place in their heart too.
This year, Burgess has had to step back from regular coaching due to work commitments, but he's still helping with several skills camps. He's volunteered with every level of hockey, from Timbits to Senior AAA. In 2005, he was awarded Hockey Nova Scotia's Coach of the Year. He says he has a warm style of coaching and always wants his players to have smiles on their faces.
I want kids to be enthusiastic about what they're doing, and when they achieve success, I want them to be proud of themselves.
He coached both his son and his daughter's hockey teams, but says he never gave them special treatment.
And I do have a reputation for this, that my kids were treated like any other kid on the team, and you earn what you get.
Burgess dedicated between 20 to 30 hours a week to coaching.
And they came back, they scored 6 goals and won that provincial championship 6-3.
He says there was lots of success and championships, but nothing compared to watching the kids develop.
To me, it's all about the kids. If you're going to get into a volunteer position for anything, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's for the people you're volunteering for, it's not for yourself.
Ellen Coles, WTV News, Halifax.
Cameras are everywhere nowadays, but that hasn't always been the case.
Mount St. Vincent's Art Gallery is celebrating an artist who used pictures to document his life, long before the digital age. Christian Roach is standing by with the story. Christian?
Thanks, guys. Famous beat poet Allen Ginsberg was known for what he did with a pen, but I went to the MSVU Art Gallery to see what he did with his camera through his life.
With over 100 pictures taken by Ginsberg, this art gallery has become a journey through one man's life.
It's cool to see like a whole life and like pictures taken from that life and different kind of characters in a life.
The Allen Ginsberg exhibition shows photos from the early 1950s until the 90s and features famous artists from across the world. Coordinator Claire Dykus says that the exhibition has been a success.
Photography is generally a very accessible medium, so that also helps. But there's so much in the show that I think it really does speak to many different people because of that.
The photographs in this collection are part of a traveling exhibition from the University of Toronto Arts Centre. Ginsberg passed away in 1997.
It's a whole life story, and it's pretty interesting because it kind of starts at the beginning and then goes towards the end. And it's interesting because it's a little bit sad too, because as people get older, the images almost, kind of depict that it's a little bit sadder. Yeah.
The Allen Ginsberg exhibition will be leaving the MSVU Art Gallery this weekend. Its next stop is Carleton University. Back to you, Andreas and Kristen.
Thanks, Christian. We have to take another short break.
Coming up, it's a nerd's world, and we're just living in it.
Welcome back. A little-known community landmark is getting a rebuild. It's the Park Avenue Community Oven, and it's been cooking for the past 3 years. Organizers call it the best, worst-kept secret in Dartmouth. The Park Oven has been a fixture of the Dartmouth Common for the past 3 years. Dave Courtney has been using it since 2012 when he saw it on his way home from work.
And I watched them build the oven from scratch. I was very curious as to what it was. Yeah. And I was, maybe a month or two away from building my own.
Over the years, cracks have appeared in the oven, and organizers are using a portion of a $25,000 TD Friends of the Environment grant to rebuild. Before the teardown, organizers hosted a workshop on building materials.
We've learned a lot over the last 3 years of how we're using the oven, and this is an opportunity to make it even more purpose-built to how it's grown over the last few years. It is generally a mixture of clay, sand, and straw, and built in a number of layers. And it's a super strong material. It's been around for thousands of years.
Volunteers got to work using chisels, hammers, and their own hands to take the oven apart. The covering was carried to a nearby tarp and crushed into smaller pieces while the brick was cleaned. Almost all of the materials will be recycled into the new oven.
Learning how to make them work is more to the point, right? You get to learn how things work.
Now the base is all that remains. A new set of bricks will be laid down and a layer of insulating material will come after that. The project will be finalized next spring when the last layer of material will be put on.
I might have to check it out once it's rebuilt.
I'll join you.
All right.
It's become a WTV tradition for the first years to host their own segment. And didn't you host the first one last year?
I did, and we've come a long way since then. Let's see what our first-year radio and television arts students have in this week's entertainment.
Take it away, guys.
Thanks. Okay, Halifax, are you ready to rock and roll? Well, we've got 3 big names coming to town this week. All-star Canadian rockers 3 Days Grace are set to play the Halifax Forum on Monday. Show starts at 8 p.m. You can find tickets online at halifaxforum.ca. This is a 19+ event. And if you're looking for something a little heavier, Judas Priest is bringing their Redeemer of Souls tour to the Scotiabank Centre Wednesday. Tickets can be purchased at ticketatlantic.com or by phone at 451-1221. And for blues fans, Nova Scotia natives Matt Minglewood and Sam Moon will be playing the Schooner Room at Casino Nova Scotia for their Full Moon Minglewood Rising Tour. The show takes place next Friday at 8 p.m. Once again, tickets can be purchased on ticketatlantic.com. Looks like there's a little something for everyone this week. Back to you.
Thanks, Cadence. Nerd culture is on the rise around the world.
And Halifax hosted Atlantic Canada's sci-fi community this past weekend. Morgan Jessam has more.
Because it's a nerd's world and we're slowly taking over.
And this weekend, thousands of them took over the World Trade and Convention Center for Halifax, the biggest sci-fi convention in Atlantic Canada. With attendance on the rise each year, sci-fi lovers like Adam Lamb say they're feeling more accepted.
Being a geek, you were made to feel like you had to hide it, and now it's become accepted, and not just accepted, but celebrated.
HalCon runs for 3 days and features vendors, games, panels with sci-fi actors, and even a chance to see a real-life duel. Ah! When the convention began in October 2010, attendance was around 1,500 people. Organizers had to move to this larger venue and attendance doubled to almost 4,000. This year, organizers expect that number to double again. Mark Potier is part of a role-playing group that's been a sponsor of HalCon for 4 years. He says he's seen the crowd grow.
Pop culture has been kind of permeated by nerd culture, so years ago it used to not be cool to be a nerd and it was kind of the frowned upon thing, but now there's so many shows and things that have come up that have become part of pop culture.
With the popularity of superhero movies and the evolving world of video games, the sci-fi train isn't slowing down. Geeks and nerds alike now have a sense of community.
I feel like all the people here, they're just so welcoming and they get it, and we don't feel like outcasts anymore.
HalCon organizers say they'll be looking for even more space for the future, proving that it's finally cool to be a nerd. Morgan Jessam, WTV News, Halifax.
Star Wars?
Yeah, sci-fi is growing on me, but you won't see me with a lifesaver anytime soon.
Lightsaber.
Exactly.
That's all for us at WTV. We have more web-exclusive content at waterfronttv.org.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at WTV Media. Have a good night.